Hey guys, welcome to Bethel Online. My name is Jason. I'm one of the pastors here, and we're so glad you decided to make us a part of your weekend. No matter who you are, where you come from, we're so glad you're here. Our vision is to be a safe place for real people to encounter the real Jesus and experience real change. Our hope and our prayer is that no matter who you are or what you've been through, you know that you are loved and you are wanted here. We would love to get to know you better and help you connect with all that's going on. You can do this by going to our website at www.bethel.us or by downloading the Bethel app. You can find our app by searching Bethel Putco in your app store. Both online and in the app, you can fill out a digital connection card. It only takes a minute and it'll help us know how to serve you better. Another way you can connect today is through giving. Your generosity at Bethel directly impacts God's mission to radically change people's lives in Putnam County and beyond. Through the ministries of Bethel and the many local and regional organizations we support, people are able to see the grace of God and how much He loves them. You can always give on our website at bethel.us/give or in the Bethel app. Thank you for partnering with us and making a difference. Well, thanks again for tuning in online today. Know that you are wanted and welcome here, and you are loved. I hope you all have a great day.
Good morning and welcome to Bethel Online. Bethel believes when real people encounter the real Jesus, they experience real change. Our hope for you, for our community, for our regular attenders, for the world is to encounter Jesus. We believe that Jesus has the potential to change absolutely anything and everything. That Jesus has the ability to take painful things and hurtful things, giant mistakes and sins, and bring beauty out of the ashes of hard things. It's our hope whenever we encounter you through our messages or through your time at Bethel, it is our hope for life transformation that reaches into your life as a real person and makes a difference. This morning, the title of my message is People Problems. People can suck. People can make life really, really hard. I spent part of my week traveling last week in public places with lots of people, and if you know me well, you know I love people. I love being around people. I'm pretty social. At my best, I thrive in a room full of people. But at my worst, I really struggle to see the good in people. At my best, I see a world filled with potential of people who have the capacity to improve and grow and to serve others and to change the world. And at my worst, I can't see good in hardly anyone. And that's more about me than it is about God. It's more about my own faults and failures as a person. But see, people can make life hard. People can gossip about you. They can make up lies about you. They can steal from you. People can be horribly rude, and people can be horribly unaware of others around them and live incredibly selfish lives. And yet, people can do incredible things. People at their worst can create horrible damage. Christians following Jesus can sometimes do things that make no sense compared to what Jesus told them to do, and to act unloving and abusive and all sorts of things. And anyone who's been around long, it turns your stomach at some of the things that can happen at the hands of people who are claiming Jesus. On the other hand, people following Jesus can do incredible things. Create entire systems meant to care for others' health and to take in and adopt children in need, to love their neighbor, to serve with no intention of anything being returned, to give in a generous way that impacts everyone around. People can make life really hard. I bet that for many of you, your story has a story about someone who made life hard. Maybe it was a junior high bully. Maybe it was a spouse. Maybe it was a friend. Maybe it's just someone you have to look at across the cubicle from work on a daily basis. People can make life hard. And if you've ever experienced the hard things of people, maybe you have felt like running from people. Where you thought, I like my dog better than people, and I'll just hang out with my dog. And maybe, on the other hand, there's the tension of, while I say that, also knowing that I kind of need people. And I think over the last couple of years, this has been very prevalent in our culture, in our society. We've seen a lot of people, and it's perpetuated by the social media and all the stuff out there. And we heard opinions of people. We never would have heard their opinions before. We've lost respect, gained respect, just been generally frustrated with people. People can make life hard. But people are a part of our mission. You see, people made life hard for Jesus. Acts chapter 2, verse 23, in describing the gospel, says, with the help of lawless Gentiles, you nailed him to a cross and killed him. That ultimately people killed the Son of God that they needed. And this is a problem. That a people who had been waiting for the Son of God, who had been waiting for a Savior and a Messiah, when given the Messiah, actually kill him in the most despicable way. People do make life hard, and they can make life hard, but we also know that in order to do hard things, people have to come together. That great things are not accomplished in isolation. Great things are accomplished in community. We know when life gets low enough, there's this point in which the pain is so much that we just need someone. People do make life hard, but we need people to do hard things. Here at Bethel, we want to help real people encounter the real Jesus and experience real change. Our very mission is about people. It's not possible to walk congruent in a life of faith without interacting with people. In Acts chapter 1, verse 8, the scripture says, you will be my witnesses. Talking to the early church, he's saying, you will be the witnesses to who I am. Telling people about me everywhere. As he's talking to the early church, he's stating that a part of his plan for people is other people. That a part of his plan for what the church is to do is to be about people. And the problem is, in many contexts, we can get hurt by people, but God wants to do a work through people. And while people can hurt us, we also have the capacity to hurt others. He says, you'll be my witness, telling people about me everywhere. In Jerusalem, through Judea and Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. What he's saying here is that the job of people who are following Jesus, the job of the church is to love people, to give them the most important message, the message that trumps all of our priorities, the message that trumps all of our opinions, the message that is above and over everything else. God chose to use people to carry it on. In Matthew 22, verse 37 through 39, not long before he's killed on the cross, Jesus says this, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment, and a second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. The standard that Jesus gives isn't love your neighbor a little, it's love your neighbor as you love yourself. It's a higher standard. It's to a higher ethic of love. And can I just be honest? Sometimes I feel like trying to love people, and sometimes I don't. For many of us, I think the last couple of years have maybe even had us running from community a little bit. Like, well, if I don't hear what they say, if I don't have to deal with their difficulties, then I just won't be so irritated and frustrated. And rather than to work through and wrestle with the struggles we have with people, we tend to huddle up in separate corners, or we tend to keep our distance, or just put ourselves in circles who think like us, act like us. But when Jesus is telling them to take the gospel of the world, he names places all over the place where people didn't think alike, they didn't look alike, and they didn't act alike. But we're to love our neighbor. That loving people is the point of what we're called to do because of what Jesus did. So we have this tension that people can be so difficult, and yet people are a part of God's plan. And that in order to follow him, people have to be a part of our plan. What do we do with these people problems? We need community. Here at Bethel, the way we do community is by serving together. The way we do community is by being a part of small groups. Over the past couple years, when we were put in isolation or told to kind of separate, some of our group structure kind of broke down a little bit, and it took a while, and it's taken a while for people to get back to being together. And some of our groups, actually, if I'm just really honest, some of our groups kind of disbanded for a period of time, or people's lives changed enough that the group time didn't fit. And so we as a church, though, recognize that right now, one of the areas that we believe we need to grow to become better at taking the gospel to the world is in community with each other. We're getting ready to launch an opportunity here at Bethel that I think really has the ability to help people like you and people not like you, to encounter Jesus in a new and unique way and transform lives. Several groups are being formed right now, and you can join any of these groups, or if you're interested in being a part of a group, you can go online and fill out a form showing interest in being a part of a rooted group or a small group. And after you let us know your availability and your situation, your child care needs and those things, as best as possible, we're hoping to launch some groups so some people can live together, some work together, and to live in community together. And so I would encourage you to take the time. For some of you, maybe who you're watching online, maybe one of the reasons you're watching online is that you're fighting community. But one thing that I know is we never reach our maturity in faith without people walking with us. It's actually, sometimes it's the pain people cause us that drive us towards maturity. Sometimes it's the encouragement of people with us that push us towards growth. But would you seriously look at the opportunity to become a part of a rooted small group where we'll spend a 10-week experience in community with some other believers or even non-believers, walking through the basics of faith, walking through what it looks like in an experience together, what it looks like to follow Jesus in community. You can do that online or through our app. Our app can be found at Bethel Putco in the App Store, and you can also sign up through our website, bethel.us. We would love to know. We're sure if you have questions, there's an opportunity for you to ask questions, and we'll get in contact with you, and as best as possible, try to get you placed in a group that will help you grow. In Acts chapter 2, verse 46 and 47, it says they worshiped together at the temple. This is the early church. What did they do? What did the early church do in a point in history where it was growing despite all opposition? They worshiped together at the temple each day. They met in homes for the Lord's Supper and shared their meals with great joy and generosity. That a part of what built the early church with its great purpose of taking the gospel out was that they actually came together in community. Most of you would say you'd love to change the world, but the truth is that world change and major transformation doesn't typically happen alone. Isolation is devastating to the soul, and I believe it's devastating to our walk of faith. We need people. It says, all the while they were praising God and enjoying the goodwill of all people, and each day the Lord added to the fellowship, remember the vision, those who were being saved. We want people to encounter Jesus and be saved. So why be a part of community? Why step in right now where many of us feel like just kind of doing our own thing and keeping a distance from people, and after a year or two of kind of being isolated from others, and why would I step into community? Number one, it's good for you. Well, it's not just for you. It's a part of who you are in faith to be a part of a church family. It is good for you. Like scientific research shows that you have a 50% increased chance of longevity if you have healthy relationships in your life. That people literally have more to live for. One of the evidence has shown post-COVID and post-quarantine and post-isolation that great damage, unspoken damage, was occurring in some ways that we weren't able to account for. That people being alone for long periods of time led them to depression. It led them to devastation. While many of us thought, oh, the introverts are taking great joy in this time alone, the truth is that actually quality of life decreased drastically for those who by nature are introverted. That studies done by Harvard and Stanford show that many people died as a result of the isolation they were experiencing because of increased mental illness and depression and suicide, that addiction rates went through the roof. Ask anyone in the counseling or therapy business or any pastor who counsels. Right now, we are seeing more people just devastated, their marriages struggling, their hearts hurting, and they don't have anyone to walk with. The thing and theme that I always get back when I ask, do you have any close community when people are struggling? Most of the time, it's not really. And people need people. It strengthens your immune system to be in the presence of others. It lowers anxiety and depression to have people to walk with. People in community with close relationships have a higher self-esteem and empathy. They have more of a belief of, I can do this. They have more of a belief that they can accomplish things, and they also, having heard the stories of others that they know well and having people understand them and work through relationships with them, that they have greater empathy for others. Harvard Medical School said this in a study: a lack of strong relationships increased the risk of premature death from all causes by 50%. An effect on mortality risk roughly comparable to smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day and greater than obesity and physical inactivity. 38 million people die every year as a result of obesity in this country. And we have the ability in community to gain some emotional and mental health by being a part of community. It's good for you. By the way, as much as you need community, there are people out there that need your community. They need good community. They need good relationships. How do we learn to be good at those relationships? We have to trial and error. And yes, there'll be some times when you get in the presence of other people and you don't dig what they're saying, or they don't dig what you're saying, or you get your feelings hurt, or they get your feelings hurt. And you can go run away from deep community, but you will inevitably miss the benefits of deep community. We want intimacy with others so badly, but what we don't understand is in order to get through intimacy and to intimacy and closeness with others, we have to get through the struggles. A trust is built by walking with people over time. One of my favorite members of our church used to call me, and I used to get so nervous when they called because I would always think that they're going to be mad, they're upset about something, that's why they're calling. And inevitably, they always had a question. And I would wonder, like, what are they getting to here? Can I trust them? Over time, though, what has happened is that now when I see their phone calls, because I've watched us navigate some questions, I've watched us navigate some situations, and over the course of 13 years, they've become one of my most trusted people in the entire church and community. What's happened is that when my phone rings there, I have faith that they're going to come around to the right answer, even if our discussion is tough. That they're going to come around, that we're going to be able to navigate it and walk through. And because of that, I would trust them with nearly anything. And when it comes to my personal life and the life that I'm living. So it's good for you. Number two, it allows us to give and receive encouragement. There are just moments in life where we need to hear, come on, don't quit. If you've ever gone on a long hike. I love to watch young kids when they first start running cross country. I made up my mind a long time ago that I was going to be the biggest cheerleader for my kids there. And honestly, I probably have taken it too far sometimes as a parent. But I'm going to push them. I'm going to tell them they can. I mean, I don't always do it well. One time I told my oldest son, like, don't worry, you'll pass out before you die. But I'm always encouraging them that they can push harder. You can do it. It's amazing to me as I cheer on other people's kids. And by the way, I don't tell your kid that they'll pass out before they die. I just do that to mine. But how much, as a kid is in an obscure part of the track and very few other people are around, when you're like, you got this, you can do it, go, 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 go. How much you'll see the speed of their feet increase, and how much you'll see their effort increase, because listen, here's somebody still yelling for me on the back stretch, in the hard part, in the tough place. We need encouragement. People are fueled by encouragement. It's one of the things we can do with each other. Sometimes we just look around the room at each other and say, let's go. We're not quitting. We're going to keep going, or we're going to walk with you. We're going to take your step with you. We know it's hard. And encouragement, and sometimes just knowing that someone would be there to offer you help and a shoulder, is massive encouragement. But here's the thing, we don't just give encouragement through a group. We often can receive encouragement from others. That it should be the way of the Christian, the way of Christian community, to say, we're not giving up on you even if you're trying to give up on us. To receive encouragement in parenting in the tough spots, to receive encouragement in your marriage is, oh man, that's a tough spot. We're in a tough spot. To hear someone say, listen, we've kind of been through that. I want to encourage you. I want to push you. I want to encourage you to make it work. Proverbs 18 verse 4 says this, a person's words can be life-giving water. Words of true wisdom are as refreshing as a bubbling brook. You know who is able to speak life-giving water into our life? The people who are around us. And we all know that sticks and stones may break our bones, but words will never hurt us. We all know that's not true. But we also know how much we need to be hearing life-giving words. When I think of life-giving words, I remember a high school gym teacher in the high school that I went to. I remember him looking me in the face one day, and I was actually getting in trouble. But rather than just telling me how I failed, he told me how he believed that I had potential to be a leader. He said, Couch, you're going to be a leader in life. When you're in my class, you're going to be a leader, a good leader. You're going to make other people better. I didn't even hear the trouble I was in. All I heard was that Coach Schmitty believed I had something in me to be a leader. I've spent much of my life chasing being a leader because he spoke life into me. A person's words can be life-giving water, and we need water, and so do others. When we're missing from community, others are missing what comes from us. When we're missing from community, we're missing what we need from others. We won't always get it right, but it's too important to stop trying. Dale Carnegie said this, perhaps you'll forget tomorrow the kind words you say today, but the recipient may cherish them over a lifetime. You don't know where someone else has been, and so often in life, we just need to be present in encouragement with others. Now, let me stop for a second and also say that sometimes we need truth from people that we trust love us. In an alienated existence with no voice telling us the truth, or in a world where we filter all the disagreement out and all the other ways of thinking out of our life, we lack any accountability. We really do need the support of people. Number 3, disaster support. Most of us can kind of go along and survive without a lot of real community. But there are moments where life falls apart. For some of you, you've just come out of that. For some of you, you're going into that and you don't know it. For some of you, you're right in the middle of it and you need community. Amanda Ripley says this: contrary to popular expectations, this is what happens in a real disaster. Civilization holds, people move in groups wherever they can. They are usually far more polite than they are normally. They look out for one another. And we need to find pockets to help us through whatever disaster we go through. We need people to surround ourselves with when life falls apart. In those moments when the weight is too much, we need someone to hold us up. I'd like to tell you that if you enter into community at Bethel, that there's never going to be a moment in your group that's unhappy or unpleasant. I'd like to tell you that you're going to get in a group and like everyone there all the time. And I'd like to tell you that you won't have to work through deep and tough things in order to maintain some level of intimacy. To get where God wants to take us in community, we have to wrestle with it. But some battles are worth fighting. Jesus believed that you and your heart were worth fighting for, so much that he gave his life. Fritz proposed that disasters create a community of sufferers that allows individuals to experience an immensely reassuring connection to others. I'm no expert. I don't want to give a political opinion. None of this has anything to do with that. But I believe what you're seeing right now in the culture that you're living in is a result of major isolation. The division that's been created, the inactivity and inertia, the nothing changing, that it's a result of no reassuring connection to other people. That everyone was dealing with what they were dealing with alone. If you sit down and talk to people about how they've experienced the last 3 years, many of them experienced the tumultuous time of a pandemic, and they experienced the tumultuous time of political upheaval, and they experienced the tumult and conflict of racism and 1,000 other ideologies, and most of them were doing it alone, and so we began to isolate others from our lives. For those of you who think, I'd love to get in community, I just got to find a bunch of people that think exactly like me, they don't exist. They might have experienced things similarly, but we're made uniquely. And I would argue that being in connection with people who aren't like you makes you more like Jesus. That every single soul Jesus came across, that every single person that Jesus connected with inherently was different than him. He was holy and righteous and perfect in all of his thinking and all of his doing, and holy in every measure of the word, and yet he consistently came in contact with people who were broken, messed up, jacked up, tore down, foolish, and fooled. But their lives were transformed by encountering him. My friend, we've got a problem. And stepping away from people in community is not the answer. Leaning back into connection and community shows our confidence in a God who's able to do what he said he was going to do when he sent his people out to love the world. Sure, people can be horrible. They can do horrible things. They can hurt us. But what if a group of people, God's people, bonded together to be differently generous, to be differently loving, to be differently serving others? My friends, I believe it can change the world. When I left for my vacation, if I'm totally honest, it had been a really busy few days around a lot of people, and I just wanted to go and spend some time in the pool with my family, but nobody else. To travel, nobody else. Some time on the beach, nobody else. I didn't want to talk on the phone. I didn't want to run into anyone. I didn't want to have any forced conversations. The first day of our trip, we went to the pool, and there was another family in the pool, and they were a big family. And, I just very quickly kind of stuck my back toward the middle of the pool and focused away from the pool and just pretended no one was there. But over 5 or 6 days, God did what he does with me over and over and over again. He pulls me out and pushes me in. We met the most incredible family of people. By the end of the week, I felt like I knew more about them than I know about many of the people around. I knew about their challenges with their daughter who struggled with developmental issues. We talked about what it's been like to walk with some gifted children in our lives. We talked about the challenges of balancing the busyness of life and the need for rest. And I was reminded that even though he was a first-generation Polish immigrant who had gone to Yale, and I was a Midwestern kid with a Purdue degree in the church, that people need people. Would you think about looking and signing up for small group and community this week? I love you, Bethel. Have a great week.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Are you ready to take your next step? We would love to hear from you. You can send an email to hello@bethel.us. You can send us a message on Facebook, or you can let us know in the Bethel app. And speaking of the Bethel app, take a moment, if you haven't already, to go to your app store and search Bethel Putco to download our app. There's all kinds of great resources in the app. You can listen to messages, you can view the messages from Sunday morning, and you can also fill out a digital Connect card. You can do that today and each week to let us know that you're tuning in. You can also find some great information about our Bethel Kids Ministry and our Be the One student ministries. Also in the app, you can give. It's one of 3 ways you can give, with online giving at bethel.us/give, in our app, Bethel Putco, or through text. Hey, thanks again for joining us. We hope you have a great day and know that you are loved.